prove that civil asset forfeiture is unconstitutional without having to say that this specific Supreme Court justice.
I don't think you can prove it without having. I don't think you can prove it without having like a Supreme Court argument to back you up, or at least showing that it's being gone through the courts.
I'm gonna no. You want to call me out on this, and then you say I must use an appeal to authority. Go fuck yourself.
Hold on, it's not.
I can
okay, hold on. I need to hold on. Wait, just real quick, and then you can go.
This is ridiculous.
Wait, okay. Let me just do one quick thing because he's using so many debate terms apparently. So a fallacious appeal to authority is when you appeal to an authority that doesn't have the authority to make a ruling on the particular thing you're talking about. When we're talking about
yeah, so I see this a lot. I see a lot of like midwits, kind of like 100 IQ people who don't fundamentally understand what an appeal to authority fallacy is. And Destiny just gets it wrong here. So an appeal to authority, what he said it was is not correct, right? Something isn't an appeal to authority. Something isn't a appeal to authority if you use the right authority, which is what he just said. If this authority actually has say over this matter, then it's not an appeal to authority. A lot of people say that, and a lot of, middle IQ people say that, but that's actually incorrect, okay? What an appeal to authority is when you use an authority's opinion or say on a matter as a replacement for an argument, right? So if we were debating, let's say, saturated fats, are saturated fats good for you? An appeal to authority would be, well, this government body said this. Okay, this government body, this government agency said saturated fat is bad for you, therefore it's bad for you, right? And that would be an appeal to authority because instead of actually making an argument, you were just saying, well, this person said this, because obviously the logical implications of that are, well, then the person you're debating could find a government agency that has a counter opinion who also is an authority and say, well, this government agency said saturated fat is good for you, okay? And so you have two authorities that contradict, and at that point, what is your argument? A consensus argument? Well, my authority has more points or more people behind it. Well, no, my authority, so that's what people get wrong about the appeal to authority fallacy. What an appeal to authority fallacy fundamentally is a replacement for an argument, whereas instead of making an argument, instead of using logical deduction or citing some type of information, you're just citing an authority, right? Now, to give an example of what is not an appeal to authority would be, let's say, going back to the saturated fat argument, if you say, this government agency said saturated fat is bad, and they conducted a study where they controlled for this, that, and the other thing, and they found that when you control for all this, saturated fat increases your chance of X, and that would not be an appeal to authority because you're actually making an argument, whether that argument is more, logical deduction or whether it's, grabbing from the real world and grabbing statistics information it doesn't matter. So I just want to make this video because I see a lot of people misunderstanding what an appeal to authority is. I see this happen a lot in like scientific debates where it's like, Fauci or whatever said this, right? And it's like, that's an appeal to authority. And they're like, no, it's not because they're actually the authority on it, right? They're the authority, so it's not an appeal. It's like, no. You don't understand what an appeal to authority is. If you're making an argument and you're using authority as part of your argument, and you're using, that as a component, that's fine. It's not an appeal to authority. But if your argument is, they're the authority, therefore this, again, logical implication is all the other person has to do is find the opposite, and now you're having a consensus kind of, a popularity contest. And so I don't know who this is, but the gentleman right here with the glasses on, he's totally destroying Destiny right here. Destiny's getting all flustered and shouty because he's winning, right? Because Destiny's, argument here was stupid, right? Because this guy said that they were talking about civil asset forfeiture, and he made the claim that it's unconstitutional. And Destiny's argument was, well, the Supreme Court didn't decide it, therefore we can't say it's unconstitutional. Now, there's some truth to that you can't just claim something is unconstitutional and therefore it is, right? But if you can make a logical argument for why it's unconstitutional, who cares what the Supreme Court says? Is Destiny going to argue that the government doesn't do unconstitutional things? Well, if he would say that, he would be wrong and stupid. But if he admitted that the government does do unconstitutional things, then the implications of that are, well, if unconstitutional things happen and they're not challenged by the Supreme Court, by your very acknowledgement, something that's unconstitutional doesn't have to be challenged by the Supreme Court to be shown as unconstitutional, right? And sometimes these things take many years. If you look at things like, the NSA spying and things like that, right? So Destiny just gets it wrong. Complete midwit in this debate. And yeah,